My name is Emily Carter, and for most of my life, I believed that if I worked hard enough, my parents would finally look at me the way I always wanted them to. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio, where my father, Richard Carter, was known as a hard-working businessman, and my mother, Linda Carter, was known as the woman who always had a perfect family story to tell. The only problem was that I was never the favorite character in that story. My younger brother, Daniel, was the one they celebrated. When Daniel won a small school award, my mother printed pictures and sent them to every relative. When he got his first job, my father took him out for a special dinner. When I graduated at the top of my class, my father simply nodded. "Good," he said, "now do something practical." I still remember those words because they followed me for years. Something practical. To my parents, my dreams were always too much. When I told them I wanted to join the military, my mother stared at me like I had announced I was leaving the country. "The army?" she asked. "Emily, girls like you don't need to run around playing soldier." I looked at her carefully. "Girls like me," she smiled awkwardly. "You know what I mean." I did. She meant that my ambition made her uncomfortable. My father didn't even look up from his newspaper. "You'll quit after a few months." I wanted to prove him wrong. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I wanted applause. I just wanted to know that I could become someone I was proud of. So I joined the United States Army. The first months were brutal. There were mornings when my body hurt so badly that I wondered if my father was right. There were nights when I cried quietly, missing home, while pretending to everyone around me that I was stronger than I felt. But every morning, I got up. I learned discipline. I learned leadership. I learned that strength was not about never feeling pain. It was about moving forward anyway. Years passed. I earned responsibilities I once thought were impossible. I became an officer. I was stationed in different parts of the country, met incredible people, and built a life that was completely my own. But every time I called home, the conversation somehow returned to Daniel. "Your brother is doing so well," my mother would say. "Daniel bought a new car. Daniel is thinking about buying a house. Daniel is dating someone successful." I would smile and say, "That's great, Mom," but she rarely asked about me. Then came the day I received the news. I had been selected for promotion to major. I stared at the official message on my computer screen for several minutes. Major. The word felt unreal. I had spent years sacrificing, studying, training, and leading. This was not just a title. It was proof that every difficult day meant something. I called my parents immediately. My mother answered. "Hi, sweetheart." "Mom," I said, trying not to sound too emotional. "I have some news." "Oh, what happened?" "I got promoted." There was silence. Then, "That's nice." I waited. "Mom, I'm becoming a major." Another pause. Then she said, "That's good, Emily." Her voice didn't sound excited. "I tried anyway. There's going to be a ceremony. I wanted you and Dad to come." The silence returned. Finally, my father spoke in the background. "What ceremony?" My mother repeated what I said. I heard him laugh. Not a proud laugh. A dismissive one. "Major." "Yes," my mother answered. Then my father said the sentence I would never forget. "She's acting like it's some huge achievement." I stopped breathing for a second. My mother lowered her voice. "Richard," but he continued, "it's a job promotion. That's all. People get promotions every day." My hand tightened around the phone. "Dad, I worked for years for this." "Emily, don't be dramatic." Dramatic. That word hurt more than anger. Because it meant my happiness was something inconvenient. "I'd really like you both there." My father sighed. "I don't think so." "Why?" "Because I have better things to do than watch you celebrate a title." I swallowed. "You won't come." "No." Then he added, Your little brother is actually building a future. You know, something normal. The call ended shortly after. I sat alone in my apartment. The room was completely quiet. I looked at my uniform hanging on the wall. For a moment, I felt like the younger version of myself again. The girl who wondered why she was never enough. But then I remembered something. I wasn't that girl anymore. I had earned my place. So I went to my promotion ceremony without them. My friends stood beside me. My fellow soldiers congratulated me. My commander shook my hand and told me something I carried with me forever. Emily, leadership isn't about who notices you. It's about who you become when nobody does. A few weeks later, my life changed again. A photograph appeared in a national newspaper. It was from an event at the Pentagon. I was standing among several officers, representing my unit. The article discussed leadership and service. My face was in the picture. I didn't even know it had been published until my phone started ringing. First, it was an old friend. Then another. Then my mother. I ignored the first call. Then she called again, and again. Finally, I answered. Hello. Her voice was different, almost excited. Emily, I saw you. I frowned. Saw me where? In the newspaper. I didn't respond. You looked amazing, she continued. Your father and I were so proud. I stared at the wall. Proud. That word felt strange coming from her. Mom, you didn't come to my ceremony. She became quiet. We were busy. No, you didn't think it mattered. Emily, I shook my head. For years, I had waited for this moment. The moment they finally saw me. But now that it was here, I realized something. Being seen by people who only notice your success is not the same as being loved. Then she said, we need to talk. I leaned back. About what? A long pause. Then, your father needs your help. I closed my eyes. After everything, after years of ignoring me, now they needed something. What kind of help? My mother hesitated, and that hesitation told me everything. Something was wrong. Something bigger than a family dinner. Something that would test whether I had truly become the person I claimed to be. Because sometimes life gives you the chance to get revenge. But the hardest choice is deciding whether you actually want it. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. Not because I had forgotten everything. Not because their apology had fixed the past. I went because I needed answers. The house looked exactly the same. The same white fence. The same flowers my mother planted every spring. The same place where I spent years trying to prove I belonged. My father opened the door. For once, he didn't look disappointed to see me. He looked nervous. Emily, Dad. We stood there silently. Then he stepped aside. Come in. My mother was sitting in the living room. She smiled. A careful smile. Thank you for coming. I sat down. What's going on? My father looked away. Finally, he said, I made a mistake. Those words surprised me, not because they were impossible. Because I had waited so long to hear them. What mistake? He took a deep breath. Daniel got into trouble. I stayed quiet. He made some bad decisions with money. He trusted the wrong people. My mother started crying. We're trying to fix it. I looked at both of them. And you called me because. My father looked embarrassed. We need your help. There it was. The reason. I nodded slowly. What kind of help? He hesitated. Then he explained. Daniel had become involved in a financial situation that was being investigated. Some documents needed to be reviewed, and because of my position and experience with federal procedures, they thought I could make things easier. I listened. Then I asked, did you want me to help because I'm your daughter? My mother immediately said, of course, but I looked at my father. He couldn't answer. That silence hurt more than any insult. Because I already knew. For years, they ignored me when I was just Emily. But now I was Major Carter. Now my name opened doors. Now my career had value. I stood up. My mother grabbed my hand. Please. I looked at her. I spent my whole life waiting for you to be proud of me. Her eyes filled with tears. We are proud. I shook my head. No, you're proud of what I became because other people noticed it. Nobody spoke. I continued. I needed you when I was struggling. When I was scared. When I was trying to become someone. You weren't there. My father looked down. I know. I took a breath. But I will not help by breaking rules or using my position. My father's head lifted. We're not asking you to break rules. Maybe not directly, but you're asking me to do something because of my title. I looked at both of them. My uniform does not make me more valuable than I was before. The room became silent. For the first time in my life, I wasn't begging them to understand me. I was simply telling the truth. Then my father said something unexpected. I'm sorry. I looked at him. He continued. I thought success meant choosing the easiest path. I thought Daniel was winning because his life looked comfortable. He rubbed his hands together. But you were the one who built something. I didn't answer, because apologies don't erase years. But sometimes they are the first honest thing someone gives you. I should have been there, he said. My mother cried. I should have gone to your ceremony. I looked away. That was the moment I realized something. I had spent years wanting them to feel the pain they caused me. But pain wasn't going to heal anything. Boundaries would. So I helped them the right way. I connected them with the proper resources. I explained what could and could not be done. I refused every request that crossed a line. Not because I wanted to punish them. Because I finally respected myself. Months passed. Daniel faced the consequences of his choices and began rebuilding his life. My parents changed slowly, not perfectly, but genuinely. My father started calling just to ask about my day. My mother watched my military events online and actually learned what my work involved. One evening, I visited them for dinner. My father looked at me and smiled. You know, I was wrong about you. I raised an eyebrow. Only once. He laughed. No, many times. I smiled. That was progress. After dinner, my mother brought out an old photo album. Inside was a picture of me as a child. I was wearing a homemade costume, standing proudly in the backyard. What were you dressed as? My mother asked. I smiled. A soldier. She looked at me. You knew who you were before we did. That sentence stayed with me. Because it was true. I wasn't created by their approval. I wasn't destroyed by their rejection. I became myself anyway. Years ago, my parents called my dream pathetic. They thought my success would never matter. But the greatest victory was not becoming someone they finally respected. The greatest victory was learning that I didn't need to become anything for that. I had already earned my own respect. And that was enough.